But y'all doing all right? Good. Listen, this is me. It's a Monday, and it's the day before election time, and y'all have your way. Today, I want to talk about you might just be under a cult, and I'm going to play a video here to show you the proof, and I'm going to tell y'all a story about how true this is. You may say, "This is wild. Who does that?" Well, I'm going to show you that I'm telling you, I've seen this firsthand. You just might be under a cult. Don't stop it. Bass.
It's the show that will get you thinking, and where the topics are hot. Feel free to comment whether we agree or not, 'cause he's got something to say.
Sirwalterj. Sirwalterj.
He's got something to say. Sirwalterj.
Sirwalterj. Report live 7 days a week, always on time, but this time is not free. Sirwalterj, always on fleek. Latest trending topics, had you jumping out your seat.
He's got something to say.
Come on in. The water's fine.
Hello, everybody. Sirwalterj Jones Show. I'm here. It is the midday connection, baby. Come on in, water fine. Y'all all right? Y'all doing good? Good to see y'all out there, you bunkers. Listen, we're here a little early. It's about noon here in Chicago, and it's about 1 o'clock p.m. over there on the East Coast. And it's daylight savings, so you should feel all right. You should feel. I feel all right. Hey, listen, y'all. You're talking about how Trump has created this cult. I need y'all to see something here. See something here. People who need people. People are who they are. It's almost difficult to create chaos when the gene of chaosness is already implanted in us all. We all are susceptible to follow cult leaders and dictators and authoritarians and the system of fascism. It's in us to do that because there is something we don't like, and there's something he don't like. And so even though this guy is my enemy, if he don't like it and he's got the power to help me get rid of that, this is gang warfare. They call a truce. And these cartels get together to get rid of this. And then when they get rid of that, they go back to fighting one another. That is basically innate in the nature of man to do. The enemy of mine enemy is my friend. So we keep talking about how the people who are following Trump are following him blindly. And he is giving them what they feel in their hearts or their flesh or their desires or their lusts. He's giving them what they want or they feel that they need. And so they follow him blindly, even the ones in whom you all have been following. Me, myself, has been listening to these pastors and preachers and evangelicals on their television shows and their church shows and their church channels and their so-called worship services. They lined up like robots and followed them, and then they pushed their religion into it by justifying following such an authoritarian. They push their religion into it, and they blindly follow him. He is the Pied Piper, and children love music, and so do you. Both parties have done this. And it is an amazing whistle that goes off in the land here, and we all listen. We can hear that whistle, and you go this way, and you go this way. It's just amazing how nature is. And so when we sit back and we judge what political parties are doing by following a dear leader so blindly. We Christians do the same thing when it comes to our leaders, meaning our pastors, apostles, and prophets, evangelists, teachers. We do the same thing. I'm about to show it to you. All right? Now, I told you all that I was at a church. I'm almost done, y'all. Can you believe it? I'm almost done. I pray that I'm not going to be a false prophet here. I told y'all I traveled with the church out of town, and I was the musician. Some of you bunkers heard this. And I was sitting on the piano or the organ. I think it was a piano. Yeah, piano. And I accompanied this preacher and his church to another church out of town. And the minister in whom I accompanied was the speaker. And he preached. And towards the end of his sermon, he asked the host pastor to stand up and come down and just stand there. And then he had all the host pastor members to line up, get in the aisle and line up. And as they approached the mind of God, they were to kneel to him and make a vow that they will never leave him. And one by one, they would come and kneel and say, I dedicate my time, my life, my money, whatever, to you, my resources, and I'll never leave you. And that pastor would just, all right, my son. All right, my daughter. And next. And I remember being on the piano, and I began to sweat. I was so disturbed by that. I don't think I've ever been that frightened before of who? Not of man, but I was frightened of God. I felt at that moment that God was getting ready to kill everybody in that church, including me for sitting there and standing for that mess. You don't understand? And Lakeisha, I'm already answering your question. I was so scared. I thought God was going to kill us all in there. And I just wish that I can go back in time. And that happens again with the knowledge and the boldness I have today. That if that happened today, there is no way in hell that I'd be sitting there. You would have heard an abrupt stop music. That music would have stopped so abruptly. Bloop. I'd have got my little skinny behind up and walked my little skinny 6 foot behind out of there with the quickness. I might not have skipped. I would have ran. Oscar, I would have ran, man. I would have ran out of there if that happened today. And I would have had to find a way back home because they chartered the bus. I was on that bus that they chartered. It was a 4-hour drive. And there was no Uber back then, no Lyft back there. And stuff. I would have had to find a way. I had to call the family member. Hey, you got to get me back home. You got to find a way to get me back home because I can't. So y'all said that's impossible. Stuff like that don't happen. And it happened so long ago. It just don't happen like that today. Are y'all ready? Y'all ready? If you're ready, say ready. I'm going to play this and I'm going to go.
Apostle, come quickly, come. Lay your hands upon this man. This is your leader right here. You see? Follow him. The Lord is telling me that if you walk away from his ministry, you're going to die, bro. I saw you smoking drugs and weed. The Lord is telling me that if you walk away, you're going to die in your sin. Never leave this man. Turn around. Look at him. Say, you are my spiritual father. I will never leave you. I will stick beside you until I'm ready to step out into my ministry. Never leave him. The day you do it, I saw your soul leaving and going back into the world, and you died in your sin. I saw a car wreck and you went straight to hell. Yeah.
He said he saw a car wreck and you went straight to hell. Y'all, this happens every week, every year in thousands of churches. It's just that the manipulation is different depending on where you are. It happens every single week. This is obviously a young man who was afraid. He probably left there saying, man, what did I get myself into? I don't know. Or he probably felt this must be the word from the Lord. And this is how these preachers come together and impose this witchcraft on the members and make them afraid. They shiver. And it was so bad when I was coming up that the church would be going up before the Lord and praising God. I mean, people trying to get healed and delivered and set free. And the bishop would walk in the church. And if a minister saw the bishop walk in, they get on the microphone and say, all right, y'all, stop, seats, musicians, stop. Everybody stand. The mind of God is walking in. Everybody onward, Christian soldier. I'm telling you, I've seen this happen all my life. I know B. Harris. I'm gonna do the McClinton clapback. I plan to do that one today or tomorrow. I've seen this all my Kojic life at that. People are lifting their hands. The worship is going forth. And the people are on one accord. And they're trying to give God corporate worship. And when the bishop walk in, stop, drop and roll. The bishop is walking in. And I would see that and I would always be disturbed by that. I would I never understood it. Anybody ever seen that in your church? Hey, Michelle Casey, yeah, that mind of God. Anybody ever see that in your church? I saw it all my life, and it was so scary to me. So what you all have done was you have brought in this idolatry where you all are worshiping the man. And this is why the Sunday school lesson 2 weeks ago was in Ezekiel chapter 43, I think it is. Yeah, 43. But what was going on was that these men were building or erecting relics or statues and memorials of kings and potentates. So there was the temple of God, and then there were these memorials of kings, and they were worshiping these kings and these relics. This is why I told my church, I thank God that there is no picture of Bishop Carlos L. Moody Sr. on the wall when I walk in the sanctuary. I'm so glad that you all did not put no picture of your dear leader on that wall. I've got to come in the sanctuary to worship God, and there is a picture of him and maybe his wife on the other side. Take that mess down, please. If it's in your church, y'all need to be rebuking somebody. Y'all got to be, because what we've done was we have worshiped the building, and then we worshiped the man or woman who's in charge, which is your pastor. All right. And then thirdly, we might get an opportunity to worship God, depending on what's going on in that service. That's what we have done. We've done that. Now, if you're in the kitchen and then there's a picture of your pastor or the saintly mother, something like that, I have no problem with that. That is a hall where you all come together and eat and fellowship. It's a fellowship hall. You know, do all whatever you want to do down there. Do whatever you want to do. But if you're going to call this a sanctuary and you dedicated this sanctuary to God, you doing the same thing that the Old Testament Israelites did by putting an Asherah pole in the temple. And they didn't just put it in the temple, they put it all throughout the city. And so they made an idol out of the building. I don't think y'all see this. Does anybody else see this? I mean, I see, but can y'all see? Yeah. We have literally made an idol out of our building. We did. To the point where we are confused on is it God's building today or if it's not God's building today. Can I tease you all? Kamala Harris is doing a church tour. She's been preaching at the mega churches. All of a sudden, that building is something else to you all. Antoine Carey Gay, blessed to you, man. For those of you who don't know this brother here, this is the brother of famed Marvin Gaye, who we all, some of my babies was born. Some of my babies was born to his brother. Brother Gaye will be on my show real soon. I'm waiting to read his book. I'll be in Memphis for the convocation next week, and I'll have him on the show when I get settled in, when I get back. So bless you, sir. So this building is a God's house, right? Kamala Harris is now speaking in God's house, and y'all want to separate politics, all right? Until y'all want to, church and state is separated until. And one side is like, that is an unholy man, or that is an unholy woman until. I'm confused at you all. I'm so Confucius. I don't know what to say about you all. So what we've done was when we built our buildings, we have idolized the building. Oscar, shut up. We idolized the building. We worship the building. Romans chapter 1, Paul was saying that there's no such thing as an atheist. He said he is without excuse. What he's doing is, Paul, I'm kind of paraphrasing, he said that he has taken the creation and changed it and began to worship the creation instead of the creator. So he looks up and he can see that God exists, he says, because God showed it to him. But when he looks up, he says, I'm going to change this to something else. Thank you, Corey Swain. Yeah, I had a great time last year at the convocation. I'll be back, but I won't be filming. I did all the filming I wanted to do. Yeah. So we have worshiped the building. I Nicole C. That's what we did. So what we did was, Jesus told the disciples, get outside. Go outside. What we do at our churches is we build edifices and we stay inside. Jesus told them, go outside. In fact, the temple was destroyed. So they couldn't even go inside. It was gone. He didn't say, okay, the building is going to be destroyed in AD, 52, somewhere around there. This king is going to destroy this building. and then I'm going to have you all to rebuild the building for me. Jesus never did that. God never told him to do it. Nope. So what did man do? Man began to erect buildings and calling it God's house. And when you did that, you took God out of this house and you put it over there in that brick and mortar house. So now we're fighting within Christianity to find out, where does God live? You see, I don't have a problem with going to a building, because when I see that church, so-called, really all I see is a building. And it's a building where I go to have corporate worship with the saints. That building. You all have idolized that building so heavy. Thank you, Alton David, 70 AD. You all have idolized that building so bad. Jeff Thompson, big ups. That what you did was you told the women that they couldn't even come up to what's called the sacred desk, the pulpit. They had to speak down there where the cheap seats are. They had to speak down there in the outer court. A man comes up, he can speak in the pulpit. A politician can come in and speak at the sacred desk, whether he is a male or female. They are allowed to speak at the so-called sacred desk. You have created this idolatry to the building that you told people that they had to wear skirts and dresses and suits and ties to be in there. Come clean, stay away dirty. There was a sign at a church in Chicago that said, come clean, stay away dirty when you walked in. You couldn't come in there with pants on, breeches if you was a woman. That's how we have idolized the building. So can't nobody come in there unless they were saved. And what? And then y'all turn around and call the church a hospital. Use a lie. A hospital? Let me tell you. Can y'all tell me what happens at the hospital? And it's typically in the basement. Can y'all? I'm curious. What happens at the hospital? And something happens upstairs, and when that thing is not successful, they take it down there in the basement. Can y'all tell me? Huh? Anybody? Kevin, blessed to you. Layla, blessed to you. Leela, blessed to you. KB, blessed to you. Oh, Monkey Moose got it. Monkey Moose got it. Anybody else? Paulette got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Renee got it. There is a morgue in the hospital. This is the hospital. The church is the hospital. But there's also a morgue there. And there was no dead bodies allowed in the temple. And Jews were not allowed to even be around dead things. But if this is a hospital, why is there... Anybody understand what I'm saying? If you're going to call this thing a hospital, then say that people are being healed here. Well, in the hospital, people are dying. So are you saying into your church that people are being healed and people are dying? I'm hoping you're going to spin that and say they're dying in their flesh. That's what I'm hoping. But that's still a bad analogy, that a hospital, because people die in their flesh in the hospital and they go in the grave and they're no more. I mean, it's a bad, horrible analogy. So you made the church so holy that then when the carpenter went in there and built steps and called it a pulpit, and so then if a woman walks up those steps and go in the pulpit with pants on, she's in sin. I'm telling y'all, this is what I come up under. And then you call those steps a altar. And y'all don't understand that an altar is a place of death, blood, sacrifice. So you call that place an altar. You're trying to say it's a spiritual place, an altar. Yes, I get what you're trying to say, but your analogies still don't make sense. Because the blood sacrifices were done at the altar. You said, well, this is a spiritual, you should be, if you can't see how God lives here and not so much over, he don't live there in that building, he lives here. This is why Paul says that you present your bodies, what? Kind of sacrifice. Not a dead one. So the altar was a place of the dead, meaning carcasses. That means that you crucified or sacrificed or you killed an animal and sprinkled its blood on the altar. Then Paul said, you know what? Here's what we're going to do now as it pertains to you. You present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable, which is your, what kind of service, you all? How are you all putting these two together? So you call your churches, what you're doing is you are reinstating the old covenant temple that was destroyed, and you created it today in your churches. That's what you did. Oscar, give me $5. Give me $5, man. Come on, man. My rent is due. Can I get $5? The Cash App is right up there, man. Cash App right there. And add 5 for the Holy Ghost. All right, 5 extra for the Holy Ghost. I don't understand this reasoning, William Hill. I don't understand the reason. So we have created an idolatrous work, all right, by worshiping the building, worshiping the pastor. So in politics, we have created an idolatry an idol out of how we vote. We have idolized the Democratic Party. We have idolized the Republican Party. We idolize the candidates. It becomes a temporary idol. Every 4 years, we go to the idol worship. All right, everybody. It's 4 years. It's our anniversary to be idolized. We idolize, okay? It's that worship time of idolization. And so we go into that whole spin through the whole voting cycle, because it's a long cycle, y'all. A long idol worship cycle until our guy gets in or not. And then we cry and we moan or we mourn. There will be crying. Tomorrow after the election, we may not know who's going to be the president for another week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or maybe the weekend. I don't know, because the last 4 years it happened on a Saturday, which was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we found out that Biden was the president. All right. This time we don't know what's going to happen, but I can guarantee you this, that whoever wins, the other side, you're going to see video of women and men crying on television. Crying. And these are Christians. And they're crying because they have given up hope. They gave up hope. That's why they're crying. And they are afraid and they're fearful because somebody push them into this moment of idol worship. Heil Hitler, basically, on both sides. And they're going to be crying and gnashing of teeth and weeping and screaming and probably going to put on their what they call them pussy hats. Remember that? When Trump won 2016, and more women than we have ever seen before. There was the largest rally and march that we had ever seen in American history. You understand? So now this Iowa poll came out, and everybody's excited. See, but this has never happened before, blah, blah, blah. Well, this had happened before, maybe about 9 times. Everybody excited about polls. Polls mean nothing. Except God keep the city. We all are voting in vain. Voting in vain. So, this man told that brother, follow this apostle and dedicate your life to him. Never leave him, because if you leave him, you are going to die and go to hell. As shocking as that sounds, he represents the thousands of churches out there, and you might be a member. Let me end it by saying this. Let me tell you how hypocritical preachers are, pastors are. Pastors are afraid to tell y'all who to vote for because they are holding on to this precious commodity called a 501c3 given to them by the government. And it is so ridiculous how ignorant we are. And this is why I did the show yesterday about wisdom. Should be something that you all should be chasing after. Her. It's called her. Wisdom is a her, by the way. And it's a her for a reason. Maybe you all can tell me in the comment section why wisdom is a her. Go back to that show. If you didn't see it, go back to yesterday. But these men are holding on to a 501c3 because they're trying to save something. They feel that they have to file under this because it's all about saving on taxes. All right. But the 501c3 was given to you all back in the 60s under LBJ, I believe it was. And it was a way to keep you in bondage and in chains under the authority of the government, and you still can't see it. You see, you do not have to be a 501c3 to be a non-for-profit organization in America. I don't think y'all understand. You pastors who are watching right now, I need you to come close and listen to this really closely here. If you say that you are a church and you file as a church, which is a non-for-profit, then the United States will recognize you as a church. And you all good. You don't need that 501c3. You are a non-for-profit. You understand? Here's the problem. None of you possibly, because sometimes I can be general, and y'all get on me about being general, so I'm going to be general today. None of you have ever read all of the bullet points in the 501c3. You just filed because your pastor friend, you're a pastor, so your pastor friend filed, and so you filed because he's getting all the benefits. But let me tell you what the 501c3 says. It says that you, the church, is a creature of the state. Yes, Wendy, I'm going to the convocation. I'll be there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You are a creature of the state, which means that the state tells you what you can say and what you cannot. What the 501c3 says to your church is, God is not the supreme authority over you, but the United States government is, because you decided to, who was that? Boaz and Ruth. She told him to take your coat, your robe, and cover me. Cover me. That's what you told the government as a church fighting under the 501c. You said, now government, cover me. Lord have mercy. How much trouble am I? How much trouble? So you then can't say anything political in your church, and you're wondering what's going on. But that's all you've been seeing in the church. That's all you've been seeing. Well, the government ain't coming after you yet because the government is benefiting from what you're saying. It depends on who's running. So they're benefiting by you promoting candidates. Now, if this was 30 years ago, no. And here's the thing. So then you say, well, then I'm going to drop the 501c3 and I'm going to leave. You can drop it and leave. But if the government decide they can, by law, go after you for all of the taxes you saved. I'm not saying what I thought or I heard. I'm telling you what I know, what I have read, what I have studied. I've done several shows on the 501c3. If you decide to abandon them, then they can decide to go back and look at your books and find out how much money did you save by not paying taxes, and they can go back and say, you owe us all these thousands of dollars. Yes, they can, by law. So the hypocrisy in your church is amazing to me. Let me show you how much of a hypocrite your pastor is. What time is it? All right, 35 minutes, okay. Here's how big of a hypocrite your pastor is. Hey, pastor. Billy like me and I love he. Really? Yeah, I love he. No, I'm not wearing the watch. I'm not. This is Apple. But when I get to Memphis, I will be wearing the watch. I will be wearing the Kojic watch. Yeah. When in Rome, do with the Romans. Okay. I love you. And your pastor is going to say, either marry him or don't. Hey, pastor. Yes, daughter. I got a problem in my house. My son or my daughter, blah, blah, blah. And your pastor is going to say, here's what you need to do. Beat that child, or do this to your child, or don't do this to your child. Okay, pastor, you're the greatest. Hey, pastor. Yes, my son. There's a job, a plant opening over there, and I'm wondering, should I apply for this plant and leave my job? You know what, daughter? Son, I think you should. I hear God saying, you probably need to leave there and start over and start your life over again. It's a great plan I hear about it, and you should go ahead and apply. And you might even become the CEO of that. Thank you, pastor. You are the greatest. Hey, pastor. Yes, my daughter. I think y'all might know where I'm going here. I got a mole in my back. I don't know how it formed. Maybe I'm old and I don't know and rusted. And that mold is, what should I do? Well, here, my daughter, here's what you need to do. First of all, let me grab some anointed oil. Let me pray. Lift your shirt, daughter. Lift your shirt all the way up. All right, daughter. Let me. Now, God, that mold, I needed to go away. In the name of Jesus, Amen and our woman. All right, my daughter, go and claim your healing. Hey, pastor. Yes, my daughter. I'm in school now and I'm about to graduate, and I'm wondering, should I get a master's degree? Should I go back and just continue? My daughter, yes, you should go back because you just need that degree to carry you further on in life. Thank you, pastor. You are the greatest. What am I saying here, y'all? You go to your pastor for everything, every jot and every tittle, everything. There's nothing off limits with your pastor. He is your doctor. He is your lawyer. He is your engineer. He is your judge. He is your father. He is your mother. And some of y'all, your pastor is 5 years older than you, and you call him daddy. That's my daddy. That's your daddy? Yeah. He 5 years older. That's my daddy. My daddy knows everything. Everything. But when it comes time for you to vote, I read way back, Chandra, way back. When it comes time for you to cast your vote for somebody who's going to affect your life. You go to your pastor and say, Pastor, this candidate here seems like it's just right for me in my house. Should I vote for so-and-so? And your pastor say, I'm sorry, I don't tell people how to vote. Can I tell you what that is? You've been played.
The 4 Women That Men Desire by Sirwalterj is a women's guide to men. The authors endeavor to expose men fundamentally with his perspective on the types of women that men truly desire. He has meticulously penned a brilliant and controversial read, bold in its assertion that all women fall into one of 4 categories. Girl A, the side chick. Girl B, the mistress. Girl C, his soulmate. Or Girl D, his fatal attraction. And when a woman walks into a room, her category is showing. The 4 Women That Men Desire is funny, informative, and enlightening. It is a quick read and a must-have for your library. Head over to Amazon.com for your copy.